So years ago, I got to tell you the story, Kristine. Years ago, my sister called me, and she was like, oh, there's this lady. She's got a company. I'm going to buy stock in this company. And my sister doesn't talk about stock or anything like that, right? Like, it's like Martha Stewart. The company's going public, and Martha Stewart's amazing. And my sister was into this Martha Stewart, right? She does, like, home goods and stuff. And so I didn't know much about Martha Stewart. So I remember being in Rhode Island one weekend, and it was Saturday morning, and I got up.
Wait, can you... She was into home goods and stuff?
Well, Martha,
like the
whatever.
Store.
Oh, no, Martha Stewart, whatever Martha Stewart does, the iconic Martha Stewart brand, right?
Well, home goods is a store.
Yeah, well, no, I mean, just whatever Martha Stewart does. I'm not into it. I'm not into that home stuff. So my sister's, you got to buy this stock. She's amazing. What do you think? And I don't know much about her. So I'm in Rhode Island. I remember where I was. I was in Rhode Island, and I was going to go out with my kids. And I turned on some like station, and I was just bouncing around or something, And there was a Martha Stewart show. And Martha Stewart was sitting there on the show, and she had like a paper clip and a Sharpie and an avocado pit and a candy cane, and she made an armoire out of it. And I'm like, what in the good God, that's talent. She took like these little parts, and she made this gigantic, and I'm like, that's talent. And I see the same thing when you watch the TV show Chopped. Right? You ever see the TV show Chopped, where they give you 4 ingredients? You get licorice, chicken broth, gumdrops, and basil, and you make a souffle out of it. And you're like, that's a good chef. Listen to this story on Bill Belichick. This is amazing. And this is very Martha Stewart, very Chopped. I'll read you the opening line in the story. There's a left-footed punter from Louisiana Tech, a Super Bowl hero who once worked at Popeyes, the son of a Texas high school football coach who ended up dating Miss Universe. There's a linebacker from Kent State with a strong case for the Hall of Fame and a receiver who starred at lacrosse in college. With Bill Belichick making his 8th appearance in the Super Bowl as head coach on Sunday, each successive trip has prompted ways to further quantify and illuminate his genius as a coach and executive. The most glaring number for Belichick that separates him from the rest of the National Football League, 18 players on the Patriots' 53-man roster. This easily leads the league. It's triple most teams were undrafted. 18 guys on this team were undrafted. He's Martha Stewart. He's the chef on Chopped. You give him 4 ingredients. He makes a souffle. I mean, it's amazing. Here's the colleges that, wide receivers are the most talented guys in the NFL, right? For years and years, we believe that the greatest athletes in the NFL are wide receivers. Here's where the Patriots wide receivers went to college in this Super Bowl. Oregon State, Texas Tech, something called Monmouth, Rutgers, and Kent State. By the way, Philadelphia's receivers, USC, Florida, and South Carolina. You've heard of the SEC. It's pretty good. Jacksonville last week, their wide receivers went to USC, Penn State, Oklahoma, Auburn, and Miami, and their running backs went to LSU and Bama. Bill Belichick is working with receivers from Monmouth, Rutgers, and the 9th most popular college in Texas. And so whenever I see people say, oh, man, Philadelphia Eagles. You've been watching the Eagles all week wear those dog masks. They're the underdog. Okay, you're the underdog in Vegas. In your locker room, you've been talking trash. You think you have more talent. You're looking at Danny Amendola and Chris Hogan and Kenny Britt. You don't respect those guys. Be honest about it. Tom Brady didn't blow you away physically. You look at New England as a bunch of misfits, and you should, because New England's always viewed themselves as the underdog. They don't pay attention to the Vegas line. Even Tom Brady, their star, 6th-rounder, chip on the shoulder. I have to outwork everybody. The Vegas line may make Philadelphia as the underdog. But the greatness of this dynasty is New England is a compilation of underdogs. Even their coach has been in the shadow of Bill Parcells, and he was fired in Cleveland. That's what people don't get about this dynasty. Doesn't matter what Vegas says. In the New England locker room, they view themselves as underdogs. Philadelphia thinks they're better, talking trash like they're better, making promises like they're better. And here comes the receiver from Monmouth and Rutgers and Texas Tech and Oregon State. Philadelphia's wide receivers, USC, 5-star, Florida, 5-star, South Carolina, 5-star recruit, pampered, babied, beloved. Just saying. The Patriots roster against the Eagles roster. There's a story today that 18 New England Patriots are undrafted.
I can believe that.
4 of their starters, their wide receivers, went to Monmouth and Rutgers.
Yeah.
So, to you, do you look at the Eagles roster and think way better than New England's? How's that land for you?
Well, I do think the Philadelphia Eagles roster has more guys that was drafted high. You look at Brandon Graham, Fletcher Cox, both first-round picks.
Yeah.
Just a ton of guys who were in the era, Andy Reid, Chip Kelly era, who's still around, who's guys who are, high draft picks. And then you look at New England's roster, and these guys just pop up out of nowhere. Amendola was on the practice squad in Philadelphia, played on the scout team. Julian Edelman, where did he come from?
Kent State. He was
Kent
a quarterback.
State, yeah, maybe 6th-round guy. And then you got Tom Brady, one of the best quarterback in the National Football League.
But why does it work for New England then?
I think it's the coaches. I think it's the staff. I think they game plan different than any other team in the league. I think they get it and they understand football.
More about concepts.
Situational football, concepts. It's just a different field, man. And when you watch them, it's evident. And if you look at the New England Patriots, they play their best football in the second half. The Super Bowl, it was evident last year.
Yeah, and I was saying earlier, to play for Belichick, would you want it? I mean, okay, you were a star athlete.
Yeah.
And you'd go out there, you ad-libbed a lot. So my takeaway would be, you wouldn't want to play for Bill Belichick.
It all depends. I think that will have to come down to how we game plan, what the concepts, what the plays will look like. Am I comfortable with it? Can I have success with it? And the New England Patriots are so team-oriented that every guy gets to touch the ball. You got 3 running backs, and everyone has 9 carries apiece at the end of the day for a total of 27 carries and 50 yards apiece.
So it really is a community.
It's a community. It's running back by committee every year, and it's whatever Tom Brady chooses to do in that quick passing game, and then they beat you deep. It's a recipe for success every week, and I love watching it.
You've known guys who have played for New England.
Yeah.
And what do they say, Michael?
It's the most structured program that they have ever been around. From high school to college to the National Football League, they do things different. And even talking to Chad Johnson, he just said it was a different world. It took him a while to get adjusted, and he never really made the adjustment.
He didn't.
It's a great platform for any player who wants success and obviously who wants to win a Super Bowl ring.
What do you make of Tom versus Time, that documentary? Is he a little too obsessed? Like, you're sitting there watching this stuff, and what's your takeaway?
No, I love it. I think this is a blueprint for young guys playing in the National Football League. Jimmy Garoppolo, for instance. He'll watch Tom versus Time now, maybe 10 years from now, and he might try to duplicate some of the things that Tom is doing so he can play into his 40s. I think the best quarterbacks mature, well into their 30s.
Thanks for watching. Subscribe here to get the latest from the show. Also, be sure to check out more of the best clips from The Herd or go watch a few segments from our other shows on FS1.